Hey guys, welcome to episode 19 of the Golf Rules Questions podcast. Now, we did have a few technical difficulties with the Zoom recording for episode 19, so we've missed out on recording that one, but I've put the audio in front of some pictures of our faces as well as the background bingos for the week. You can see mine in the background there. Now, I've given hints in the background bingo. I've also put down in the description the timestamp of when we talk about everything in the audio. So if you want to miss out some of our ramblings, just go down to the timestamp and click on exactly what you're looking for. We talk about scoring methods in episode 19, and of course we've got our Golf Rules question of the week, background bingo, IVORs, and listener questions. So get into episode 19. You can obviously watch it on YouTube. Not watching the video though, but you can watch it here or listen to it here, as well as going to Anchor, getting it on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get good podcasts. So tune in now, and we'll talk to you again in episode 20.
Yes, well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Golf Rules Questions podcast. Roscoe here, your co-host, joining you once again alongside Blakey. Blakey, how are you today, sir? You well?
Going really well, Roscoe. It's heating up over here in Australia, so getting out for a round of golf. How about you? Getting out for a round of golf this weekend?
No, I'm not getting out for a round of golf this weekend, but if for those of you that do tune in on the YouTube channel and do take any interest in watching us talk through the podcast rather than just listening, I'm going to put a public safety and a public service announcement. It was my first probably round of golf in the summer sun of the southern hemisphere. And if you are watching, you can see my face glowing like, as my wife would say, a Beluga beacon. Webbo in the UK might know that term of phrase, but it is bright red because I did not wear any sunscreen. So this is a public service announcement. Wear your sunscreen on the golf course. Don't let the fact that it's 18 degrees in Melbourne and you're wearing long sleeves and long pants, so it's not really summer. But no, I got sunburnt. But I enjoyed St Andrews Beach. It's been on the background bingo at some point, and always look out for any opportunity to get to St Andrews Beach. Wonderful Tom Doak course, and it was very enjoyable. So, but not this weekend. Yesterday, I played golf.
I was wondering if you were going a bit red-nosed reindeer for Christmas.
I'm very angry at myself, Blakey. Let's put it that way. I'm very angry at myself for letting my skin get damaged by the sun, because I've been doing it all my life, and at my age, you should know better. So, sunscreen.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that if any sunscreen manufacturers want to chip in and sponsor this podcast, then maybe we can get Roscoe some sunscreen and help his melon.
You've got the widest skin Australian Scott here. He's just a walking billboard for sunscreen. But no, that's not a plug for sunscreen. Absolutely not. I should know better. Now, this week's episode, thanks for tuning in once again to everyone for the wonderful questions, the wonderful feedback, the audio bites that we get. You don't know. You don't know how much that means to us to get positive feedback like that. It is something that I know brings a smile to Blakey's face, because he puts the majority of everything that's Golf Rules question is given to you and provided by the knowledge of the Blakester. And but you've got no idea how much of a smile it puts on his face to get feedback, and also mine, because this is a bit of fun for us. We're doing this. There's no money here, no money, and it's just out of the love of the game. So we do appreciate all of that feedback, and even the less than positive feedback. And we get a couple of that, and people think that we rabbit on a bit too much and take a bit too long to get to the point. Well, that's fair enough too, and we appreciate that as well. And we try and incorporate all feedback into delivering this show week in, week out, because it's the number one Golf Rules Questions podcast in Australia. It's the only podcast dedicated to the golf rules. So there you go. We can make that claim. Now, this week's rundown. Golf Rules question of the week, of course. We've got a couple of audio grabs from the listeners. We've got background bingo again, a couple of new backgrounds behind us here. Mine's pretty easy for most of us, probably can get that one. We have got a discussion topic based on one of the audio grabs, so we'll go into that, which might take us down a rabbit hole of discussion, but we'll cover that off. And then we've got the IVORs. Someone's picked up an IVOR on your literary skills, Blakey. So we'll embarrass you with that. Got another background bingo and another golf rules question of the week, the one to ask. Right now, we're going to answer last week's golf rules question of the week. Blakey, remind us what was last week's golf rules question. It was a tricky one. It was a curveball.
Yeah, so last week's golf rules question of the week, GRQOTW, that's episode 18, was when can you place your ball in the general area? When can you place your ball in the general area? So certain situations that allow a player to place their ball in the general area. Have you got any, Ross, that you can think of?
I can only think of a time when in a bit of a sort of northern New South Wales tropical downpour, clay-based greens, the water didn't drain like a sandbelt green, and there was water on the green. It was pretty much waterlogged, but the path, the nearest point of relief out of the temporary water was just over to my right, and that had a little bit of a clearer line to the hole. So I think I could take relief and place the ball over there.
And that wasn't on the green. That was on the clay-based.
No, it was on the green. But I'm just saying. I was saying the substrate of the green. Talking of architecture, wasn't the beautiful sand-based sandbelt thing that we got here. It was a little bit more clay-based, so the water didn't drain away quickly. So the water just covered the green very, very quickly, and I took some relief over to the right where there was no water because it was on a hill and a little bit of a clearer run to the green, and I placed it there. Was that right? Was I breaking the rules?
No, that was fine. It was just the question was more focused about when you could actually place in the general area.
Not on the green.
No,
which is not the general
green.
Area.
Yes. And,
right. No, well, I can't think of it. I can't. Sorry, my bad for not listening properly. I should have known. You wrote the question. I just pressed a button. The general area.
Well, what is
no,
the
I
general
can't.
area?
No, I can't think of a time when I had to place the ball, not drop it of recent times.
Well, you got one last week, and that was the local rule for when preferred lies E3. Local rule E3 is in. You got that one last week, but I said that was the easy one. When in the rules of golf can you place? And yes, I do rabbit on a bit. I won't delay this anymore. So there's a few examples actually, and most of the listeners, I don't think anyone got all of them, but a combined few got them all together. So when you drop your ball in the relief area, it rolls outside, you drop it again, it rolls outside, now you have to place your ball. It's a placing on the spot where it first hit the ground on the redrop, so the second correct drop. You place your ball on that spot within the relief area. That's number one.
That happens on a weekly basis for me.
It happens a lot, if you're dropping on the side of a hill, et cetera, et cetera. Now, just a further note to that, if there is a situation where you can't get the ball to stay at rest, you aren't permitted to push the ball in to the ground. You have to try and place it. If it doesn't stay at rest, you try and place it again. Doesn't stay at rest, you now find the nearest spot, no nearer the hole, where the ball will come to rest when you place it. So that's number one. Number two, and this is the one that I thought a few people might get. It's a little bit trickier though, and it's similar to what you just talked about. If you've got a situation where you've got interference with an abnormal course condition on the green, for example, and your nearest point of relief is actually off the green, or your point of maximum available relief is off the green in the general area, not in a bunker, in the general area, then you get to place your ball in that on that spot. So you take your ball from the green, find your nearest point of complete relief, and place your ball on that spot. And this could be in the general area.
So you can take your ball off the green and place it in the general area. So I was sort of not quite right enough. I didn't move my ball far enough because I didn't need to. But had I needed to place my ball off onto the fringe, as an example, when the water was blocking my normal path, and I had to take some relief, I could have placed it on the fringe and putted from there if I wanted to.
If that was your nearest point of complete relief, spot on.
So
or your point of maximum available relief.
Okay, so I don't have to drop it there.
No. If you're taking it from the green, then you place it.
And I guess that's... sorry, go on.
There was one more, and this was a very rare situation. It's only found in the interpretations, and that is interpretation 20.1C3/3, when you're putting two balls into play. So if you're putting two balls into play, let's come up with a situation where you put two balls into play. And I really think that everyone should know about putting two balls into play. It's only for stroke play. And it's when you're not sure about how to proceed under a rule. So say you head into this area, this sort of bare patch, and you think this could be an abnormal course condition. But if it isn't, then, and so I want to take free relief, but if it isn't, I'll just play it as it lies. You're not sure, the committee's not around, the referee's not around, no one in your group knows. So you go, I'm going to play two balls. I'm going to play the one as it lies, and I'm also going to take free relief. But what you actually end up doing is taking free relief for your original ball. You've got to say which one you want to count before you make a stroke, but you take the original ball as it rests, take the relief, the free relief that you think could be possible, take the free relief, and then you take another ball out of your bag and you place that ball where the original ball was. Now, I know what you're thinking, Ross. Why didn't they just hit the original ball as it was lying and drop another ball by taking relief, rather than what it sounds like they did? But that's an option for the player, an option that the player can make. So that was a very rare one, in that you get to place your ball you're back at the original, where the original ball was.
Why would you do that? So you've hit two balls up the right-hand side of wherever. You have to make a decision that you're going to play two balls because you're not sure of a ruling. So I get that. So your original ball, you pick that up, and then you place a ball where your original ball was, and then play that, and that's the shot number one. That's ball number one, and then the ball that you've placed beside it in the area where the free relief is, that's shot number two.
Yeah, hang on. So he's hit it on up the left-hand side, hit one ball up the left-hand side.
Yep.
He's in what he thinks could be ground under repair.
Yep.
He goes, I'm going to play two balls because I don't know if this is ground under repair. The first ball, the original ball, he takes a drop, or she takes a drop for free in the relief area, and then places another ball where the original ball was originally sitting. Now, it's not a replace because it's a different ball, so you are placing. That's what the interpretation says.
Okay, so you drop your first ball, and then that's okay. Then you place the second ball where your original ball was. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
It's a strange one.
I can't actually remember having had that situation occur, Blakey. So if I've seemed unfamiliar, and I apologise, I can't remember a time when I've had to do that. Certainly, playing a ball, a provisional ball, past up into a point where your first ball is. That's, like the first one goes 350, but it might be lost. So you've played a provisional and you only hit the provisional 250, so you've then got to play it a couple of times more. That's familiar to me, but I don't think I've ever done that.
Yeah, I think I've only ever played two balls once. It's quite funny. I almost think that the people that know the rules are more likely to play two balls than the people that don't know the rules.
Yeah.
Because the people that don't know the rules would be more argumentative that they do know the rules, and they're saying, no, I don't need to play two balls. Whereas a person who is more likely to know the rules is more likely to realise that they don't know of the situation. They don't know whether this, area could be called ground under repair or not. And yeah, it's like you just don't hear of people playing two balls that often, whereas they probably should.
Well, I hope we've answered a little curveball question there, and thank you. And that's part of the gold that you bring, Blakey, because I'm sure most of us probably weren't fully 100% accurately aware of those interpretations and scenarios. So good on you for doing that. Now, let's flick across on a positive note to a regular contributor, and we thank him for his wonderful feedback and his little note. And we'll play it in its entirety, and it's from Webbo. I'm not sure. He can clarify. Was it Inspector Webb, Detective, Sergeant? I almost feel wrong in calling Webbo now that we've started to have a conversation. I'd probably like to call him by his first name, or maybe Mr. Webb. But anyway, he can tell us what he likes. But I think he likes Webbo. Let's.
It'll always be Webbo to me.
Let's hear from the man.
Good day, gentlemen. This is Webbo, the IVOR detective. First of all, can I thank you both for a great show every week. It's really interesting. Keep it up. Can I give a shout out to Fraser Nicol, who is the creator of the Golf Rules Samaritan Facebook group, and a piece of artwork which is a database of golf rules and associated questions. Also to Steve Whiting, who listens to this, who is a fellow Yorkshire ref with myself, and my friend as well, Dave Carlisle, who is recovering from a foot injury. I was asked a couple of episodes ago to tell you about myself and my job. I am the secretary at Beverley and East Riding Golf Club, which is the oldest inland course in Yorkshire. If you check the website out, you'll see. And it's on common land. Never mind unruly dogs, as the question was the other week. Between April and October, we have cows roaming and have to fences up around the greens to protect them. Can you imagine the associated dung local rules that we have? However, that does help in having excellent greens. My bolt hole is that I'm a member at Ganton Golf Club, which is still in Yorkshire, and I think most people that listen to this podcast will know the history behind Ganton Golf Club, and I'm privileged to be a member there. Roscoe, thank you. You are correct, I'm not a Yorkshireman, and the respect you showed me in correctly deducing that was quite skillful. I'm a Midlander from Ilkeston near Derby, and obviously Derby is the home of the mighty Rams. Thanks a lot, fellas. I'll send some more questions in later, and I'm watching for any, or listening rather, there was an IVOR in itself, for any IVORs. Bye.
Wonderful. That was really cool. It was more of a guesswork, Webbo, that I got that you weren't a Yorkshireman, but I wasn't wanting to have a guess, but certainly from a good part of the north up there in the England and Derby. What a team! Yeah, they've seen some highs and they've seen some lows, and but the Rams, were certainly one of the big teams in the north of the UK at one point in time, and have a very, very loyal following, as do many of the towns football teams up there, Derby, Burnley, West Bromwich Albion. Oh, some real good footballing country up there, some real ding-dong battles between some of those teams. But I know quite a few Derby fans. Had a round of golf with a Derby fan, actually, earlier on this year, Blakey. Commonwealth. Yeah, I did. At Peninsula Kingswood, Commonwealth gold medalist boxing champion, Dave Rocky Ryan. So Webbo might even know of Dave Rocky Ryan. He might have pulled him out of a couple of scraps at some stage. Oh, who knows? But Dave Rocky Ryan is a fantastic Derby fan and a Commonwealth gold medalist boxer, or Commonwealth champion boxer. And his sister's a very good boxer as well, and a lovely guy and a great golfer. There you go. Webbo, thank you very much for that feedback. We do appreciate it. And if anyone wants to send us any feedback, if anyone wants to give a shout out to their rules-abiding and rules-informed friends, please feel free to do so. How do they do that, Blakey?
So the best way is to go on to Anchor and you can leave a voice message there. However, Mr. Webb sent his audio through via email and we more than welcomely received that. So golfrules.questions@gmail.com. Or you can even send audio files these days via Instagram and Facebook. So don't be afraid. We will take on, we've had a fair bit of feedback and we've got a real good following from the people in the UK at the moment. Maybe we can hear from a few across the ditch from the UK in the big Joe Biden ruled country.
Well, we did hear from NYC Entrepreneur, and I'm just thinking here, looking at the time, we're already 20 minutes in. We're not even at the meat and potatoes of the podcast, so I'm just going to apologise in advance for dragging him out for another 20 minutes of listening to us prattle on and not even getting to the real meat and potatoes. So NYC Entrepreneur, your feedback is welcome too, and I apologise for taking 21 minutes to get to the meat and potatoes, but we're almost there. We're not quite there yet. Webbo, you're not the only course there, as in the UK, that have got bovines and sheep vines mowing the grass in the winter and rings around the fences. A couple of good ones up in my neck of the woods in Scotland too, Brora probably most famously, and a couple in also in Victoria here. And your good friend Under the Card was making a book on some of those courses that might be ring fenced by fences to protect them from animals. And what's he calling the book? Honesty
Box Courses of Western Victoria. And there's about 10 in there. One of them is actually my club. I don't think I've featured a photo from that course yet, but it will be coming up soon, Andrew Miller, for you.
So there you go. Honesty Box Courses of the Western Victoria. Now, most of you hopefully know what an honesty box is. That's where there's not an attended golf shop, not an attended pro shop, maybe not even a shop, but you have the feature and the benefit of playing the golf course, and you have to pay your money, and you just pop it in a little envelope and you put it in the box, and that's an honesty box, and away you go. Someone comes and says g'day to you. Well, they're probably mowing the greens or shooing some kangaroos away or moving some kangaroo poo. As I struck yesterday at St Andrews Beach, kangaroos everywhere down there. But great book. I've already purchased it. The pre-purchase, you can go and find it out if you want to hit. Yeah, we'll tell you where to go. Sorry, Blakey, I just dropped that on you, but I thought I'd do the right thing for Under the Card.
Yeah, well, Henry is good supporter of the Golf Rules questions. So well done there, Henry.
I hope he likes my photo behind. He's a good photographer, absolutely. Now, the real meat and potatoes. We're going to listen to this audio grab from one of the listeners, and we'll come back to that in a second. So let's tune into that right now.
Hi guys, it's Andy, the very average golfer from Melbourne. I'd love to get some clarification on how the Stableford scoring system works, as it's a scoring system that's continuously tripped me up over the years, but it'd be great to understand the system from you guys so I can put it into practice over the summer. Thanks, guys.
It's interesting, Blakey, that we sit here as regular golfers and just take for granted the scoring systems and the games that are available to club golfers in their regular Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, whenever it is you play your club competition. And we do tend to take it for granted. I distinctly remember many years ago trying to understand the nuances of the Stableford scoring. So I can understand what was his first name? Was it
Andy?
Andy. We've got a lot of Andys. Andy, the very average golfer.
Let's go with average Andy.
Our mission is to get you up from average golfer to Andy, the above average golfer. There we go.
A plus Andy.
Average Andy. Well, we want to get you to a 39 points a round. We need to get you, more than 36, which is playing to your handicap. We want to get you to 39, and we want to hear from you when you crack that, magical 39, and you have your first 40-pointer. How's he going to do that? How's he going to know how to get to 40 points, Blakey? How do we do the Stableford scoring system?
Yeah, well, let's have a bit of a chat about scoring systems altogether. So basically, you go out there, you make a stroke, or you have a penalty stroke, you add them up, and that's your stroke score. People might say medal score, gross score, stroke score, just the score. What else do you call it?
What did you have off the stick, mate?
Off the stick. That's a great one. People go, what does that mean? Off the stick. It's this number of strokes you had during that round, including penalties. So how many times did you try and hit the ball and that stroke counted? Okay. So, Roscoe, you're a pretty good golfer. Your handicap's about 3 at the moment, is it?
Well, maybe 3.5,
Right.
3.5 GA.
So you're about 3, I'm about 9.
Please.
How do we, if you think about this, how do you and I compete against each other? Because that's one of the great things about golf is that every golfer can basically compete against every other golfer. Now, I'm not talking if Roscoe goes out there and plays against Dustin Johnson, they're not going to shoot the same score, okay? Off the stick, they're just not going to shoot the same score. Maybe over 100 rounds, Ross might get them 2 or 3 times, but off the stick, they're just not going to shoot the same score, which is why the handicap system was born. Okay, so the handicap system is about letting everyone play against everyone on an equal basis. So with the stroke score, you can go out and have a stroke score of 90 and someone else can have a stroke score of 80. And yeah, that person who's had 80 has beat that other person by 10 shots. But then once you apply the handicap to get the net score, then it could be a different kettle of fish. Okay? Is that working out so far? Is that easy to understand so far, Roscoe?
Well, it is for me because I understand it intimately, but we haven't touched on Stableford yet. So what you've articulated there would effectively be in play during the monthly medal. You know, the first round, many clubs, the first round of every month at a club is the monthly medal. And it's usually, and it's a privileged honour to win a monthly medal. And you would have your your gross score, what you had off the stick. You had 90 shots. And if your handicap is 20, it's a simple mathematics of 90 less 20 equals 70. Your net score then is 70. And the monthly medal at that club is awarded to the lowest net score.
That's spot on. And you'll usually find in the club champs will be they will be off the stick, medal, gross, however you want it. Whatever term you want to put in there. So that is gross. And then you get this handicap, and we can go into handicap, actually how you achieve a handicap in future episodes, but this is just about the scoring system at the moment. So you got your gross, you apply your handicap, you got your net score. Now, there's modified games of stroke play. There's 3 of them, 3 known ones, okay, that are in the book. The new one that just came in last year is called maximum score. It's the easiest one to explain, so that's why I'm getting it out of the way first. It's the same as gross and off the stick, except the committee have put a ceiling on what the highest number of strokes you can have for a certain hole or every hole. So they could say there's no double digits going to be, for a hole, you're never going to achieve a double digit score. So once you get to 9, you've had 9 strokes, that's all you're going to want to write down. Doesn't matter if you would finish the hole out in 10, 11, 12, 14, you just write down 9. Okay. So easy. It's just a modified stroke score that the highest score you're ever going to have is 9 or 10 or 7, whatever the committee want. They could say maximum 4 over par. So that would be 7 on a par 3, 8 on a par 4, 9 on a par 5. Okay, so that's maximum score. Once you got your score, you apply the handicap. Again, you've got your net score. Now, next one is par. Okay, so we'll leave Stableford to the last, or do you reckon we should go with Stableford because it might be a little bit easier? No, I'll go with par, Roscoe. I'll go with par. And the reason I go with par is it's basically match play against the course. So you either win half or lose the hole. If you play to your net score and that equals a birdie or less, you've had a win. If you play to your net score and that equals a par, you've had a half. And if you play to your net, if you don't play to your net score, you have worse than a par, it's going to be a loss. Was that an easy understanding of par?
Blakey, I think you need to explain when you use the term net score on a hole, because that's how this par score is broken up by hole, is what a net score is. So that will then feed into the Stableford explanation. So, pick a handicap. Yeah. Pick an 18.
18 handicap.
18 handicap.
That's the easiest way is to do 0 handicap versus 18.
Yeah.
And then we can even chuck in a 36 handicap. And the reason that that's easy is because, as we all know, a round of golf is in the rules of golf as 18 holes or less. So you play 18 holes, you get a shot every hole. If you're off an 18 handicap, if you're off a 0 handicap, you get no shots. So the par of the course is your net, right? 18, the par of the course, then your gross is going to be 18 over, basically, to just play to your handicap. Okay.
So a par 72 course.
Yeah.
18 handicap. Your handicap suggests that you should be playing at 90.
That's right. Your gross score will be 90 is playing to your handicap.
Off the stick.
Off the stick. Now, so when we first talked about stroke, you had this gross score and you apply the handicap to get your net score for 18 holes. For a par course, it's individual holes that you're having a gross score and then applying your individual handicap strokes for that hole to get your individual net score for that hole. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. As an 18 handicapper, you have one shot on top of the par of the hole to achieve your net par. And a net par in the game of par is worth what we call a half. You've halved the hole. Yes?
I think that's pretty easy. If anyone has struggled with that explanation, absolutely yell out at me and I'll wrap myself across the knuckles. I think that's...
So then the other two handicap situations, you said a scratch handicap, someone without a handicap, they're 0.0. Now they do not have any shots on any of the holes. So when they play up the first hole and they have a 4, which is then a net half. So on their scorecard, they will put a little circle or a square, depending on which part of the world that you like to mark your card on, and they've had 4.5. Then the second hole, they have a birdie. At Peninsula, it's a par 3. They have a 2, so that's 4, and they have a plus. So they're one up on their handicap, the one better than their handicap, so they have a plus. Then on the third hole, tough hole at Peninsula Kingswood, always gets me out, they have a bogey. Ooh, terrible. So that's a 6 net minus or a wipe, depends on, once again, what lay of the land where you come from. So in that first 3 holes, for a scratch marker, they've had a half, a plus, and a wipe. So effectively, if they were to finish the round then after 3 holes, they would have played to their handicap. Half, a plus, and a minus. So the plus counters out the minus counters out the plus, and they've played to their handicap. Now this is relative to when we get to talking to the stable because it's a similar concept, slightly different. The part that you didn't mention, Blakey, is for an 18 handicap, it's fairly simple. You've got one shot every hole. So 5, a par 4, 5, 5 a half. You have a par on a hole where you get a shot, it's 4 a plus or 3 a plus. You have a bogey, it's a wipe. You have a double bogey, well, once you can't score on a par, you pick it up. You don't need to keep playing. Once you can't, you don't need to have a 7 or an 8 or a 9 or a 10. Once you just have a minus, you've missed your opportunity to have a half, you pick it up. Now, for me at Peninsula, if my daily handicap is 4, that means I get a shot, one of these shots, on the 4 hardest holes. Index, the stroke index, the definition of the severity or the of each hole, the hardness, the difficulty is the word that I'm looking for. Thank you for correcting myself. The difficulty of each hole. I get a shot on most difficult, the second most, the third most, and fourth most difficult holes. So in that situation, I have on the hardest hole 1 shot. It's a par 4. I need to get a 5 to have 5 a half to play to my part of that hole. Have I explained it correctly to you, David?
Yep, that is going well so far. I think between the two of us, we'll end up getting people over the line. Now,
I feel sorry at this moment for Dave, the very average golfer, because our aim is to get him to be above average Andy. Sorry, and so hopefully he's following on.
If he has booty on every hole, he'll know he's better than average.
I'm just going to say, I think we've lost NYC golfer at this point. NYC entrepreneur. From YouTube.
No, I was thinking about it. I've got an idea for him that I'm going to implement that should help him out. I'm going to put timestamps. You can put timestamps in YouTube where they just click on exactly what they want to find out. And I'm going to go back through every episode and timestamp everything that we've talked about. So you can just click on exactly what you want to hear.
Andy, in par, if we, once again, not to confuse you, but you can't have a double plus. So if you are an 18 handicapper and you have let's say a 2 on a par 3, well, that's a plus, 2 a plus, you would go on your card. If you have the very good fortune of having a hole in one, and I hope you do, you don't get 1 a plus plus, no double plus. So it doesn't really counter out a wipe, and you don't get a wipe, you don't get a double wipe. It's just either 1 plus, a half, or a wipe. So at the end of your round, you tally up. Simple arithmetic. Most people can add up the pluses. So you'll have 18 holes. For 10 of those holes, you've had halves. For 5 of those holes, you've had pluses, and for 4 of those holes, you've had minuses. 5 pluses, 4 minuses. You've had +1. You've played 1 shot better than your handicap would suggest that you should have played. So you probably had about, if you add them all up, if you did have your score and counted them, you should have had around 89 shots.
Good. Okay, now let's move into his actual question, Stableford. Okay, so if you play to your handicap on the hole, have that a net score that equals your par, then you have 2 points. So a scratch golfer, their par is going to be the exact par of what the card states.
So let's use the same example that I stated before. And just to clarify, a net par is 2 points, but you have other points at play. So a net birdie, a net eagle, a net albatross, and then a bogey. So we'll explain that now. So we go up the first to Peninsula. The scratch golfer has a par. He walks off because that's what he had the last time. He has 4. On his card, he was going to have 4 2 points. 4 for 2. You'll hear your playing partners go, I had 4 or 2, mate. 4 or 2, mate. 4 for 2, mate. Whatever, once again, wherever they come from. 4 for 2, 4 or 2, whatever.
42.
42. Buckle my shoe. So then on your card, you write 4 in the score column, and then in the result column, you write 2. Because the objective of the game is to add up all of your points and get the most points, Stableford points, at the end of the round. So in the example that we cited before, he goes to the second hole at Peninsula Kingswood on the north course. It's a par 3, very good par 3. He has a 2. So I can already hear you answering Andy, the very average golfer, on the journey to being the above average golfer. He's had two or three, 23. No one says 23. He's had 2 or 3 because a net birdie is worth 3 points. So you get the picture? The net birdie is 3 points, a net par is 2 points, but then he goes to the third hole, my shocking hole. He sprays one out to the right, he makes a 6. He's had a bogey on the par 5 going down the hill. That's a 1-pointer. So you follow me? A net birdie, 2 or 3, a net bogey, 6 or 1. So he has 1 point for a net bogey because he doesn't get a shot on the hole because he's a scratch golfer. So he has to play net par to get 2 points, but he's had a bogey. Let's just say that he had a 7. He had a double bogey. He misses his bogey putt. That's the one that he's got to make. You never leave one of those putts short, by the way, for a 1-pointer because you don't get a point for the comebacker. So you never leave it short. He has a 7, double bogey, no points, 0 points. He picks it up, moves on to the next hole. So you can't get a point once you go past the net bogey. But let's just say on the third hole, it's actually a relatively easy par 5. He drives it over the hill. It runs down the hill. He 6-irons it on. He 2 putts for a birdie. Well, because we know that by now. It's a net birdie. So he's going to have 3 points, 4 for 3. I'm not confused.
Good. So then that's for a scratch golfer. So then when you have the 18 handicapper, the 18 handicapper's par is 1 over what the par of each hole is. So you're saying that Peninsula North, the first hole is par 4 on the card. For an 18 handicapper, think of it as a par 5.
And when you make a 5, it's 5 or 2. 52,
it's
5 or 2.
5-2.
Buckle my
so
shoe.
You get 2 points because you made a par. You made a net par. Okay, you had 5 and you had a shot there, which brings it back to the par of the course. So the par for you for that hole the objective for you to get for that hole is to get at least a 5 and get 2 points. If you have a 4, you've effectively had a net birdie.
Yep. So you go to the par 3, the next hole, as we discussed, you have a par, it's 3 because you've got one shot, right. Net par. Net par is a 4. You've had a 3, which is a net birdie, a birdie. A net birdie is worth 3 points. And then you go to the next hole, par 5 down the hill, you have 6, you get 1 shot, net par is 6, so a net par, it gives you 2 points. Let's just say, using that example like the scratch golfer, you actually hit it over the hill, you get it up to the front of the green, you chip it on really close, and you sink the 4th shot. So you have a birdie, like a real birdie, but that's not a net birdie, so because a par for you, because you get 1 shot, is 5. A par is 6. A net birdie is 5, which is the real par. So a 5, you get 3 points. So what do you get for when you have a real birdie? It's a net eagle. So you get 4 points for that one.
And if you'd hold your chip shot,
you would have got a net albatross 5-pointer. Unbelievable.
So I've got a question for you. So we've talked about the scratch golf. We've talked about the 18 handicapper golfer. What about the 36 handicap golfer?
Well, he gets 2 shots on every hole because there's 18 holes.
So their objective on the first hole is to have a 6.
6
than a 6.
6 or 2. Let's do it quickly so we can. So we don't. So he has a 6. That's 6 or 2. He has a 4. That's 4 or 3. And then he has a 7 on the par 5. That's 7 or 2. Simple. Yes,
that's right. Well, the 4 on the par 3. Now, what happens if that 36 handicapper has a hole-in-one on the second hole?
So this is where I have to stop and think because my mathematician skills are not my strong point. So he's got 2 shots. So that's 5 or 2. It would be a 4 a 3. It would be a 3 a 4, a 2 a 5, or a 1 a 6.
That's right.
So he's got 2 shots on the hole. He gets a hole in one, ding, dang, do. He gets 6 points.
That's right.
So if you get 6 points and you're on the second hole, you're thinking, wow, wrap up the cup now, put my name on the trophy, make the voucher, put it in my club account now, but don't ever get fooled by doing that, because that is a surefire way to end up with 34 points at the end of your round, because you get ahead of yourself and you don't want to do that. But a 6-pointer does give you a little bit of a buffer, because that means you've got 2 points on your hole, and then you're already ahead by 4. So it is, just keep playing around. If you're a 36 handicap, you've got 2 shots every hole. Put those 4 points in your pocket, in the bank, forget about them, and then just go and play every hole and just try and maximise those. It's like playing poker. You put it in your pocket, you don't want to lose them, so you don't want to get ahead of yourself and then spray one on the next hole and go, oh, that's it.
Wise words from Roscoe.
Thank you very much. Well, when you don't play with many shots, you value what you do get. So,
well, I think we've wrapped up Average Andy's question. So hopefully he'll soon be A+ Andy.
Andy, if you want any further tutelage on that, I'm sure Blakey is happy to engage with you offline. Just reach out to him. We've probably confused the hell out of you. We've probably confused ourselves. And if you are a weekend golfer and you understand what par, Stableford, stroke, and all of those games are, well, the best we can offer you is to share this episode with one of your friends that you do want to try and convince that golf's a wonderful game and it's not confusing at all.
Good luck.
Share this episode with those guys. And NYC Entrepreneur, I hope that it helps. It's helped you.
Still going. Hopefully, still listening.
Still listening, and I hope this has helped you over there at NYC. Maybe you remember it. Where would you play if you were at NYC? Where would you be playing, Blakey?
Liberty National. Is that a course? Did I just make that up?
Yeah, there's a fair few. Shinnecock's not too far out of NYC, and is NGLA up that way as well? I don't know, but anyway, I don't know that part of the world very well. I would love to.
Me neither.
I would love to. Maybe if you're a member at a course over there, NYC Entrepreneur, you might shout us out, and we'll come and see you one day and chum you around for a round. That'd be good. What else, Blakey?
All right, let's get into some background bingo.
Background bingo. So last week's backgrounds were?
Mine was North Otago, a course that I grew up playing on. I showed Tokaraki the couple of weeks before that, and now North Otago was another one that I grew up playing on. Has four holes across the road. You actually just they have a bridge. One side from getting from I can't even remember the holes now. Getting from 12 to 13, I think it is. You take a bridge, whereas walking back the other way, you just walk across the road and you just got to be careful. Lovely little course there just near Oamaru. And yours, Roscoe?
I believe it was the Glen Eagles Centenary course, home of the Ryder Cup a number of years ago in 2015, and also, 2014 was the home of the Ryder Cup, and it was also the home of the Solheim Cup last year, the Ryder Cup version for Europe versus USA, which I was fortunate enough to attend for a day when I was on holidays. It was on up there, and it was a magnificent event. I had actually tickets to the Ryder Cup in 2014. I'd just taken over what I'm doing now, and I couldn't go. I couldn't attend the Ryder Cup, which I was devastated about. But I did get to go to the Solheim, and it was fantastic because it was that thriller-diller of an end. It all came down to Suzanne Patterson, who'd come back from being a mum. It came down to her on the last. It was what we didn't know at the time, but it was her last ever putt in professional golf, and it was to win the Solheim Cup, and the Europeans had come back from nowhere. They looked gone, dusted, and it was a great event. So many people there. The Centenary course is like a stadium course there at Glen Eagles, but the Kings and the Queens course are the ones that I believe that are for the real golfers want to go and play those courses because they're a little bit more traditional. But the Centenary has been built for big stadium type events, and it's a phenomenal course to see with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people around it. But I believe we nearly tricked Mr. Miller, did we not? Did he get it in the end?
He did get it in the end. He was looking on the other side of continental Europe, but he did manage to get it. He said mine was quite easy for him. but he was struggling with yours, but he did end up getting it. So well done, Mr. Miller and Andrew Miller, and also my dad got North Otago. I think my dad's got an advantage since he's played all the courses that I've played, basically in that Otago region.
Do you think he's got an advantage? Pretty sure he does have an advantage of the obscure Otago courses that only those from that part of the world and the ones that have travelled there have played, Blakey. So, Mr. Blake,
Yep.
you keep playing. We love your support. What about this week's background? My one's a pretty easy one. If you're from Victoria, you've probably hopefully you've had a round here. There's one hint: it is in Victoria, Mr. Miller. You might have to win. It's not my house, so don't go down that rabbit hole again. But Google, go and search clubhouses. But another tricky one for you. But it is a wonderful, wonderful course. And Blakey, where are you? That looks like your backyard.
Yeah,
is that your backyard over there in Otago?
Mine's a fantastic links course. However, there's a couple of things to this golf course, and I'll fill us all in next week. But it's one of the most southern golf courses, I'll say, in the world. It is one of the most southern golf courses in the world, but there's a little trick to it. So let's see if anyone gets it.
Okay, that's a story for next week. You did get pulled up on an Ivor by Mr. Doak. Was it Mr. Doak from North Carolina?
Yes. The way that I pronounce the noun pronunciation, which I absolutely am wrong in this. I didn't even have a clue that the verb pronounce has an O, two O's, and the noun only has, three O's. Sorry. The verb pronounce has two O's, but the noun pronunciation also only has two O's, whereas I thought it would have had three O's. I thought that it was pronunciation, but it's not. It's pronunciation. That is the noun.
All I'm going to say is, Mr. Doak, thank you very much, because I've been sitting here biting my tongue week in, week out, and waiting for someone to pick him up on that. And I just want to say thanks, because I'm not sure that I could have gone on another week while he pronunciated things wrongly or incorrectly. Sorry.
Yes, I think it's more accent as a result of my accent than anything else. But no, I honestly didn't know that pronunciation.
Well, we are
here
articulating all things correct in the world, and golf rules is one of those things that we do like to uphold. But if we can learn along the way, Blakey, well, that's a positive thing, positive outcome of us chin wagging on for 50 odd minutes a week. But thank you, Mr. Doak from North Carolina. If you've got anything you want to bring to us from North Carolina, please feel free to contribute at all times. We really do appreciate it. This week's golf rules question of the week, the GRQOTW.
Yeah, I've gone with another little tricky one. What is it, Roscoe? You got it in front of you?
The question is, when are you permitted to drop your ball on the green? When are you permitted to drop your ball on the green? This is a good one for the Peninsula members. If you do tune in, there may be a couple of scenarios and situations I can think off the top of my head, on the South Course where this might be pertinent to you. The first hole, South Course, might be pertinent to you. When can you drop? When are you permitted to drop your ball on the putting green of the hole you are playing? I didn't add that one in, but I am now on the putting green of the hole you are playing. There you go. Okay, mate. Well, that wraps it up for this week. Another episode under the belt. Thank you very much for listening. All of you that do tune in, we do appreciate you. Share it with your friends. If you do know someone who wants to learn a little bit more about the rules of golf to help them enjoy the game at a greater level, please feel free to tune them into the podcast, the Instagram page, the YouTube, the email, the website, all of the things that Blakey's done a wonderful job in creating. Please hook them into all of them. And if you want to get on the email list yourself, please, Blakey has a wonderful newsletter that he sends out fairly regularly, which just gives everyone a bit of an update on the world of the golf rules questions, and you should really be part of it. So thank you once again, Blakey. Thanks to you for coming back and listening to us, listening to ourselves prattle on.
Yeah, no, that was a good one. I actually enjoyed talking about scoring methods in golf.
Well, very good. Until next week, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again.
See you guys.